And we are back. We are back with another episode of Conversion Code Podcast. I am your host, Travis Halverson, joined with my co-host, Ryan Netter. And we are with the lovely Nikki.
What's up, guys?
Nikki, introduce yourself again, if you would, please.
Yes, my name is Nikki Pais. I work as the inside sales agent over our team.
Inside sales lead.
Director, I'm making her.
I'm director. Director of Inside
Scott
Sales.
will
Director
watch
of
There it
Inside
is.
Sales.
Director of Inside Sales.
Direct-
There it
I'm the
is.
director of Inside
Give her
Sales.
the fucking title,
Yeah.
baby. That's what I like. Good,
Appreciate
good.
that.
Well,
Thank
hey,
you.
I appreciate you having you back here. This is awesome and exciting as always, and the fact that you are moving to Myrtle Beach. So our team will like you even more. So.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you. So, but today we are actually going to talk about some other stuff regarding not just inside sales in general, but talk about systems and technology and the stuff and leveraging out a lot of different things. So, I know Ryan has some questions already formulated for you. So, if you would be so kind.
Yeah, so we dove into a lot of the techniques, and different things. We want to be able to give you some action items when leaving here. But now diving into where do you do this all, right? And I think that's getting into the conversation around, CRMs, customer relationship management systems that we've already talked about a little bit in our last couple episodes. But what I wanted to do is I love diving into understanding where Nikki was and what system she used to use, and now kind of coming into our world and our team and the environment we're building and the systems that we're now using. So Nick, if you could take us through a little bit of, the CRM that you used to be in, nothing against it, but just understanding the techniques that you were able to dive into using that system, or also what made you frustrated when using that system that you weren't able to do. And maybe, sometimes I think with our CRMs, we hit a ceiling. And we don't allow systems to understand, like, we need to see everything and understand everything and be able to filter things out when learning how to mass convert. You know what I mean?
True.
So, in short, it's like archaic versus new age. That's
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
my whole
Yeah. There you go.
CRM
There you
was
go.
to now. I started with Brivity. Again, we're not shaming Brivity.
Yeah.
Brivity is great for what I needed it to be at that time.
Of course.
But coming to Follow
What
Up
got
Boss.
you here won't necessarily get you there, though.
Period.
go.
There it is.
Hey.
There it is. Okay, go off.
No, the Follow Up Boss was like everything that I wanted to happen as an ISA.
Yep.
And then also, like, we had more systems in place on this team than the team that I had came from, which just allowed me to really take off faster.
Yeah,
To
clear picture of what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes. And I like the main differences that I saw in Brivity versus Follow Up Boss was that with Brivity, it was very much you had to set every single task. If somebody looked at a house, there was no way for you to know. So if your task was not set for 2 weeks out,
You had a dashboard, and you had to click on it every time just to see it. You wouldn't be notified.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And then in addition to not knowing like whether they were looking or what they were looking at, that was a market where homes were flying quicker.
Yeah, you needed it
I
quicker.
needed
Guys,
it.
that's huge. I think that's a
Yes.
huge
I didn't even
thing
think about that, no.
we come out of, is that it was a lot easier not having to dive deep and look for, information within the CRM. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Because the thing is, like, what I had said in the last podcast is that I was over following up with people
Yeah.
because I was terrified that something was going to change, and I had no way of seeing it in my
Exactly.
previous system.
And the cool thing about it is, and John Cheplock says it great, is I could put a fucking sign in the yard and the house would sell. Like it was an easy game. 20 months ago is a completely different ball game. And the thing is that you're saying you're afraid of over communicating, which is a lot of times people aren't really aware of. And Ryan speaks to it a lot. And it's like, hey, when you're going to talk to someone, you make sure you talk with purpose. You make sure you know what you're saying, and when you're saying it with the targeted follow up. So
And then the thing that I also liked about Follow Up Boss was like partnered with Canary, which will be to TBD.
Right here, connect, convert, close.
as Ryan says, to come.
This system, which everyone will know about, but literally it changed my whole ISA
come.
world.
It's to come.
Sorry. I just said canaries to come. You guys are all going to hear about it more. That's why I said it earlier, and I didn't mean it like that. Sorry, Nikki.
He's like, I fucking hate you guys.
The system with Follow Up Boss with Canary is like the level of automation that can take place in comparison. The auto plans in Brivity just don't cut it. They just don't. And when you put Canary over Follow Up Boss, it's like the mega system of what you need to be able to keep up with your leads.
Well, guys, diving into the technology, sometimes you have to look at, we've all looked at the all-in-one. And that's where in real estate, it's like, I don't want to, log into this system, log into this system, log into that system. But guys, when you look at the all all-in-one, sometimes that's where Nikki's saying she was just so caught up into the only things I could use is what was here. What's amazing about an open API and integration with other platforms that Follow Up Boss has allowed for all different services to be able to plug into the CRM is that because, hey, if you're not tied to that, like you can use this, right? If you're not tied to this, you can use that and try different things that are going to work for you. And I think you diving into the Canary system with the amount of automation is what we're learning that
well, what you just said made me think of like diving into those automations. I came from a team where the expectation was 2 leads a day was where you wanted to be. And when I came on this team, the expectation was 3 leads a day. And I thought, how am I going to do that? I'm confident in my skill, but how's that going to happen? The level of time that this frees up, having this system in place. I mean, there's 3, 4, 5 appointments that I can set in a day, which is like a world that I thought was impossible before this.
The funny story about that, and I'll talk about it a little bit, but is when Gigi, for instance, when I first came on and took over as ISA lead, and I told him, I was like, all right, guys, I need you to set 1 appointment today. Just 1 appointment a day for an entire month. They did it. They crushed it. They were setting 2 a day, but I mean, like, they were really setting 1 a day. That's what their expectations were. And I told them, we brought it in a month later, and I was like, all right, guys, we set 1 a day for this entire month. Our new goal is now 2 a month. Okay, we did that for like 2 months, 3 months straight. That was the goal between me, Sarah, Gigi, and Madison at the time. And then we went deeper on it, and I was like, all right, guys, we know what we need to do every single day. Now that you guys understand Canary and you've implemented it into your system and you guys understand the process and the follow-up and stuff, I said 3 a day is where we need to be. I always say shoot for the moon, fall in the stars, like that you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like that's really the mindset you need to have, and you've adopted it very well, and it's something that you can come into because, as you said, you were like, I'm not going to set 3 a day. I'm just kidding. I don't even know Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to know this place? So, no, keep going.
Yeah.
No, I mean, so you keep going on it. Like we explain a lot, guys. Canary, what we like to explain is that it's a process and a concept to understanding the next step, right? And a lot of these CRMs allow you to have a streamlined next step, right, when happening, and like not being just random with your actions. I know this needs to be done. Well, instead of like when we're saying consistency, that means you're applying the same text message template, the same email template, the same kind of like the phone call, what is it?
Follow up
in a cadence with each other, and you're keeping that consistent, like you're saying you built into. So Nikki, just again diving back into these systems, the automation with Canary, what does it continue to allow you?
What I've seen, like having Canary now is that I genuinely feel like if I would have had Canary with Brivity, I probably wouldn't have sour feelings towards Brivity.
Yeah.
I think that Canary made me have more confidence in taking over a CRM. And if it could be implemented over all CRMs, then everybody would be in a better position. And not only Canary, but what we have like with our there are systems in place. I mean, I don't know if we're going to talk about Ylopo, but
absolutely.
But Ylopo,
Ryan loves Ylopo.
I mean, that changed. That was a huge game changer because Ylopo gave me the opportunity where, instead of just having like leads that are looking at things, I'm getting the alerts for what they're doing.
Dude, even a text message alert. It's fucking wild.
It runs systems where based on what they are looking at, it will automatically create a smart search around it. You can leave that search alone and then separately create something according to the conversation you had with them and say, okay, well, this is what you wanted for this area according to our conversation. But the Brivity didn't have that.
Yeah, and to even build off of what Ryan was talking about, because he was saying like when you're doing the follow-up and you're doing the cadence and you have the systems and processes in place around it. And I remember Ryan came in, he wasn't even on the Canary team yet or even like helping me with it at the time. He just came in as like my Ylopo rep, and he was like, dude, why don't you add this into your text message at the end? And the cool thing with Ylopo, it allows you to just not just drip the text via email, you can drip it via text. Like you can put that link into a text message. And he's like, dude, implement this, which has now become a staple of like Canary, you know what I mean? Like that's something that we really believe in, and that type of stuff has like really been a game changer for just honestly all of Livian, especially for the people that are actually doing the follow-up and the cadence and stuff. And you have people come into their trainings all the time and be like, Ryan, this shit works. And in the back of Ryan's mind, he's like, I know it works. I get it. I understand. I love that you love that it works because I know it works.
Raya in Ylopo, which is the AI that's built in there, I genuinely was under the impression when it started that there was somebody hired behind the scenes that was having these conversations. That's how effective and smart that AI is that's talking on its behalf. So this person sometimes, before I've ever talked with them, they've had a conversation with the AI, and then I'm going off of it and saying, hey, you spoke with Raya on our team. And all of a sudden, Raya is a whole person in the conversation.
It is a huge point, and we always talk about it a lot with Raya, and we talk about it a lot with Ylopo, and it's if you understand the concept of Riot and you understand the concept of the AI integration that YLOPO has into the system and leverage it out, because you understand it, but normal agent that has no idea about AI or technology in general, they're like, who the fuck is reaching out to my lead?
You're allowing it to do too much for you sometimes, right? I mean, it's always looking at the crutch. And
it's not a leverage. It's not a leverage. It's a crutch.
You brought a system in again, and when you said, okay, now that we have the system, what's going to happen? You know, what's the short-term game that I don't have to really be involved in this? And I think what's amazing about us guys is there's a different things when you look at AI. There's automated AI that's just going to, you know, drip on them with all sorts of different kinds of random stuff. But what we like here is we like to set up our behavioral drips, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what Nikki's talking about. When somebody comes back to the website, then they're alerted from there. Not, oh, we're just continuing the conversation, so she can then dive into there and base it off the conversation that Riot already engaged with as, hey, that's an assistant. Just like we use virtual partners. You know, virtual partners are like an assistant. Guys, it's not going to
change my life.
It changed your life?
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that, though.
Okay, I'm not kidding, y'all. When I came from a place where I had to come up with it all myself, and I had to make the time to do every step of the process as your ISA. And having a VP, which is my virtual partner, my VP's name is Vicente. He's the best person on the planet. I would not be as successful without him. Seriously.
They're great.
GOAT. All of them have done so much because they're malleable to learning the system. They're attending these meetings to stay strong, which is something that we want even agents to be doing. We want agents to be coming to their meetings and learning more. The VPs are dedicated to building up their strength, and it's like all things, it's a muscle. The more that they do it, the stronger they get it. And so if you don't work on it anymore, the muscle gets weaker. Well, Vicente has done more for me than I think even some of the other VPs has done, where he is going full, 7-10 questions deep in the inbox, having questions with leads and qualifying them. So by the time that I'm on the phone, I also have a launch pad to talk with them ahead of time. So we're queuing everybody up a little further along. That's a huge difference.
Guys, you're either investing in something like this or you're investing in, technology that just doesn't make sense. Like, yes, AI can do a lot of these things, but then if you don't understand the AI, does it really do anything for you, right? Like, I look at my clients a lot of times like, hey, you have to do it yourself and then add another person on and do it yourself again, and then realize when you can turn technology on with it, right? And then have it take over for your business. And I think that's a lot of the times we don't look at things like, Pillow and Zillow, right? Different things. Everybody's asking like why, what happens in the beginning. Guys, they nurture the lead. That's why they're taking a percentage from you, right?
Yep.
What Nikki's doing with the virtual partner to an ISA to the agent's the same thing, but we're keeping the money in-house.
Exactly.
And what's better is we're getting more leads that way. An agent doing that by themselves is eating up so much of their own time when they genuinely could have been out showing homes and closing business.
Their dollar per hour.
So it's actually super, super interesting that we're talking about this. And we were talking with Logan at Happy Hour the other day, was the MREA model, and like just that, the book,
$1 million real estate agent.
Yeah. So with the book, and basically saying, well, as you become an agent, you become this big of an agent, your first hire should be an admin. And like you talk about that and you go down that path and you buy another. You're basically treating that same thing as an ISA position. You basically get so big as an ISA that you can't be everywhere at once in a massive database. So how do you do that? You hire an admin. You train that admin. You build that admin up to be that next person for you to do all these things for you. So you're basically treating it as from the ISA point of view, but the MRA model, which is great. It's super interesting to see, and what you've made out of it has really just allowed you to excel at what you do, because you were only, as you said, you were like, man, how am I going to get 3 appointments a day?
I was
now you're setting fucking 5 to 10 a day, and you're like, this shit is easy.
But Travis really got me there, because when I started, I was such a control freak, and I really believed that since I had done well by myself, I was afraid to add anything to that system. I was terrified. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, who would crush that? Vicente would crush that. What could be done? And that makes your ISA a bigger asset as well. So trusting, you always have to be aware of what you're asking of somebody, but trust that person that you're asking to do it very, very well. And I think that's the biggest difference.
And it's almost like a triangle. I look at it as a triangle. I think the most important, I think the agent's up here, and then you have the ISA and the transaction coordinator, right? So when you're looking at the MREA, the first hire is always looking at the transaction coordinator, which is important, but guys, then it's looking at the next person that can help leverage you with your business, with talking to people. You know what I mean? But I want to go back a little bit to the Ylopo piece because you guys were going and I loved it because it was like, hey, I don't even have to speak about this. At least little bits that I'm saying. And guys, a lot of the times when you're looking at these technologies, there's a general net that's casted out that you were talking about, the initial listing alert property search that's sent out to email. But a lot of the times, guys, you have to realize how many emails are being used about a lot of these consumers, right? So an email being sent out, they might get to it in 3, 4, 5 days, or even longer and never even open it up, or it even goes into a spam inbox that they never see it at all. So being able to go a little deeper and understanding your technology of, hey, when you're going out and seeking a technological tool as an agent, it's like, hey, okay, I can do that, but what else can I do? And what else can I do?
And you know what Ylopo did? It was in under 10 minutes. A new lead had come in. They had given a phone number. The number is not a good number. Ylopo had already prompted it, asked it, and got a new phone number from that person that was accurate. And did all of that before I was able to get to the phone, which is way valuable. I'm spending 15 minutes on a phone call when an ISA is unable to get to that immediate next lead. Ylopo is literally taking care of it, and that's the balance between, is it a crutch or is it a resource? But in that situation, it's a huge resource.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, and we say it a lot, is there is such a thing as too much automation. If you do this, if you have that mindset of too much automation, you're really going to hurt yourself. And we have, and bless Alan's heart, but when Alan came on with Canary, he was just like, hey, how the fuck do I turn on everything? How do I turn on all the AI for everything? I want them all to talk to.
But we had to see him see the steps of sometimes the struggle of like,
exactly
6,000 leads. He's like, yeah, I got it. You're good. And then he's like, this is too much. I don't even know what the hell's going on.
I was talking to their director of ops, Emma, and she was basically saying, she was like, Alan's fucking crushing it. Like, and it's a bad thing at the same time, because Alan, when anybody asks Alan, how are you crushing? He's like, oh, Jeffany. Like the Canary virtual partner is just going through my database, and they're like, "What the fuck, Alan? Why can't I have him go through mine?" I'm like, "You can. You just got to tell him."
And being able to let go.
And that, you got to be able to let go. It's a scarce mindset, which is what we're starting to see, and it is super interesting. But I love it.
And guys, that's when looking at the size of the database. Like, Ryan, how am I ever going to get around to 9,000 leads? How am I ever going to get around to 5,000 leads? Like, this is what we're talking about here. And you guys are always asking, like, we need, like, how do we do this? Well, we're giving you some things that you have to dive in. But again, I keep saying you have to have a foundation and understand it yourself. When I dove in with clients, they go, Ryan, I've never hired a virtual partner. I said, well, start doing what a virtual partner would do, and then understand that, and then be like, I can't do this anymore. Right? Because then you're like, I have to be out with my dollar per hour as an agent. I need to be doing these things, but I know now I've set the accountability, because a lot of them is the accountability level of, what do I hold them to? What do I give them? You give them what you did, right? And you reiterate, and you have to spend the time to do that.
It's so important that the agents, I think this step for agents is like, agents who are very successful are like, I'm so busy, I got so much going on. This is equally as important as an appointment. This requires the amount of time to put aside to do it well, because when that piece is established and you have it in place, you're going to propel your business that much further. And it works. The system that y'all have is monumental. It's night and day from what I was doing before.
Oh, I appreciate that. My head in a fucking, oh my gosh, I love it.
Brain works.
My brain works. I got something going for me. No, and then going back to the whole like automations of things, and we talk about it a lot with like speed to lead and using leverage and pieces like that, and like we use things like texting Betty and call action and stuff. But as you were saying, Ylopo does a great job of grabbing that information and capturing it first, and basically before you even had a chance, you already got the good information, because Ylopo does some crazy shit on the back end. It scrubs things and it like grabs things for you that you didn't even need.
Also, shopping for your clients like on Facebook, guys. Like you're looking at a lot of these services. Like, how do we get them away from the portal? Hey, my client keeps going to Zillow, my client keeps going to Realtor.com and sending me these listings in, but I don't want that listing to go to another agent. I'm nervous about that. How do I continue to keep coming into my world? And it's like the more proactiveness that you do, and the deeper you go with these systems and understanding these systems, guys. Like, don't be afraid to set yourself up as a lead, right? Like, you learned probably what Ylopo was. Like we talked about in our first episode, that Travis came in as a lead, because you start to recognize, hey, these are the emails that are sent out. This is why this is happening. Also, you talked about it big in my meeting yesterday, was like, hey guys, sometimes these things are set up to get a reaction from somebody, right? They're not always supposed to be perfect, because then it's supposed to be us as the expert behind, an inside sales agent or a real estate agent, that you're the expert that's taking this person down the journey that they really need to be, following.
No, dude, I mean, I say, and it's funny, because I would rather have someone yell at me blue in the fucking face and being like, this doesn't fucking work, or like, this is the wrong value of my home, or the properties you're sending me aren't my fucking criteria. It's like, I'd rather them say that than say nothing, because I can build off of, hey, I understand it's the wrong search. Must have been something on the back end. Let me fix that for you, or actually tell me your specifics and I'll set it up. I know this is actually the 50th email I've sent you, so I appreciate you finally responding.
Even if it's not perfect, I've seen agents like send something and a lead goes like, what did you just send me? And it's like, hey, at least
Dude,
like, amen. And they're like, what else are you looking for?
I will literally send people a blank text and basically say, hey, take a look at these properties and let me know what you think. And it will have nothing. And they'll be like,
what properties?
What properties? Where'd you send them? I'm like,
perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're not seeing these? There's got to be something wrong on my end. Tell me a little bit, though. I have it set up to this, and this. Is that it? And they're like, yeah, that's it. And I'm like, all right, cool. Now I send them the link. But I got them. That's my whole thought process.
And talking about got them, it just made me think about like what you were saying with like we're trying to get to a point where the person's going to respond, and we just need to either get them to text back, get them an email back, or get them to stay on the phone with us longer. One of the things that made me think about is with Follow Up Boss, there is an area on Follow Up Boss that Brivity didn't have, where it gives you the social information of a person. You can find their LinkedIn, you can find their Twitter, you can find their Facebook, their first name, their last name. Yeah. So literally in those 30 seconds before somebody picks up on a phone call, I am scrolling through their socials, trying to find little information, and I am using those tidbits very quickly. Hey, so-and-so, looks to me like you're looking at properties here in Myrtle Beach, but currently living in New York. You paying those crazy taxes? Bingo, that's item number one. Item number two, hey, your name looked familiar, and I thought that I went ahead and Googled you because I thought you were so-and-so. Turns out that you own this window business. We do so much work with windows, blah, blah, blah. Now we're in a conversation where we're giving them value, and maybe we could do work in the future, but that's not why I'm calling. I actually wanted to see what had you looking, blah, blah, blah. All of those things keep people on the phone because now you talk to them like a person for a little longer. Using that little social aspect has saved me in conversations.
Yep, just leveraging out pieces using technology that you have around you. And that's fantastic.
So that's what we come to. The conclusion, guys, is that you leverage the systems again that you're using. You find ways to go deeper with these systems. These systems aren't just created because they're that's there to be there. There's things that you can take and actionable things that you can take when using these systems, and being able to give people what they came to get. Sometimes I think that's the thing that we overlook. Sometimes is that with automation we put them in front of like an action plan or a drip campaign that's like everything about our team and exactly everything that we've accomplished, but they still have never even talked to you yet. You know what I mean? Like that's maybe important to put around them once you have the conversation and knowing that, hey, I know you're not buying for a year, but I want you to see what we do in the community now. Now you can put something around them sometimes, but shoving it up in their face all the time, then they don't even know where to go. It's like, I came here just to look. Well, allow them to look. People love looking at homes. Like that's the thing of real estate. It's really enjoyable, but then they go and talk to their wife or their husband and like, we're not going to do that. It's like, it changes. So
I agree. Well, Nikki, do you have anything else you want to say?
Yeah.
In conclusion, I just wanted to say, I understand that maybe as a first-time listener, you might feel overwhelmed hearing about all these different systems and all of the things that are in place and feel like, I don't even know where to begin. What we really believe as a team and what we've seen is you don't have to get it perfect. You just have to take that next step. And that's what Canary is. That's what these systems are. You don't have to get it all right, but for you to be able to grow, you have to choose every time to take that piece, that thing that's going to get you a little further, and do it. Live in a place of action.
Do something.
Seriously.
Do something. Well, Nikki, I appreciate it. I really do appreciate you being here. Now that you're moving here, we're going to have you on here quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, well, anyway, everybody, thanks for tuning in. See you guys next time, because I think we're going to talk about sphere of influence leads, company-generated leads, and probably just
different leads.
That there is no fucking difference in them, and you just need to convert them. So at the end of the day, so appreciate it, everybody.